Reverend, would you like to lead us in prayer?
It would be my privilege. Let us pray. Lord God, this morning we give you thanks for the season of Easter, for the season of new life. We ask that you guide the Commissioners Court and all workers for our county with your wisdom so that new life can be established. And now, Lord, we pray a blessing over our community and ask that you keep us safe and help us to care for our fellow men. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the regular Commissioners Court meeting for Thursday, April the 21st. Also, for some of us, known as Aggie Muster Day. So, yep. Anyway, first item on the agenda is discuss take possible action on approval of payroll number 8 for the period ending April 15th, tax day.
I move we approve payroll number 8.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed take possible action on approval of personnel action forms.
I just got these like 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
All right, so there's 2 in here on this position. It's the clerk position at Melissa's office. So we took $1 from a vacant position, but we have an amended one where we had taken it from a filled position. So we amended that, and it's in a packet somewhere, and then we just took it to a vacant position.
Okay.
Brandon Adams increases transfer from part-time to full-time and dispatch. Ooh, I don't even know when I say this. Mr. Canales?
Isaiah.
Yeah, he's kind of spelled right, but anyway. Corrections officer, new hire. Frank Cervantes, corrections officer, promotion to corrections sergeant. Don Hoover, new hire, transport officer. Ray Lutz, termination. Juanita Maltos, new hire, dispatch. Jason Martin, new trial, pre-trial case manager. Kevin Beadle, increase in slot. Bobby Vita, increase in slot. And there is one missing. I'm going to bring it next week, the amended one.
Okay.
Did you mention the Luppies from the beginning?
Deborah
Front page?
Brashear. She went right past it.
I don't have it.
We have it. Deborah Brashear, new hire for Loopy. Right?
That's correct.
Let me see. My packet doesn't have that at all, so.
Okay.
Oh, and there's the amended one right after it.
Well, yeah. Who makes it? You want my packet?
I got this. That's so sorry, I didn't have it. So, okay, start over. Deborah Brashear, new hire, and then there's the amended one on Temporarily passing over. And then all the rest of them are right.
Correct.
I'll move
All right.
we approve personnel action form.
Second.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on giving premium pay to employees from the American Rescue Plan Act. Edward has put together a policy on premium pay. If you want to give us the lowdown on the policy.
Sure. So I know we brought this up during a workshop for Arpa funds, and the amount that we discussed at that time was $1,000 per employee, per eligible employee. This policy here is for $2,000 an employee per employee. It would be $1,000 for one time frame, and then another $1,000 for a different time frame based on the Arpa requirements.
And just to be clear, he wrote it for 2. It's going to be up to y'all as to what we are going to do. We can amend it. And so when we talked about it, he wrote it as if there's going to be 2 $1,000 payments over time to each employee. But the caveat is it's y'all's decision as to what that number is going to be.
Correct.
Okay.
And all of this is still
Okay, this is totally excusing all elected officials.
all
That's
elected
correct.
officials as of now are or cannot be a
We're not
part of
allowed.
this premium payment.
Okay.
There is a pending AG opinion. There are several counties wondering, asking if an elected official should be included, should not. AG has not responded to that. So once we get that, I think that's going to determine whether y'all can or can't. And if so, we can come back, decide whether elected officials should.
Doesn't
get
it
$1,000.
depend upon the fact that we are published in the newspaper what our salaries are and we
That
can't
is-
change it? Is that the problem?
The premium pay does allow for retro pay. So there's a lot. I think all of that has to be discussed and should be discussed in the AG opinion. But for now, elected officials are excluded from this policy right
Okay, well, I had two questions. That was my first one, and I'm totally against that part of it. My next part of it, what if somebody comes in, works, and 2 months later, they get their $1,000 to quit?
Okay, let's talk about requirements. Look at the payment, okay?
So the requirements are that they work at least 80 hours from, the first payment would be from April 1, 2020 through March 31st, 2021. And we made those hours, that's the basic, the lowest requirement based on the Arpa, so that,
So they had to be employed during
right.
that time period
For 2
in
weeks.
the next, at least 2 weeks, but
And work in the office, not from home, work in the office. And we're gonna use timesheets to confirm that. Those that are salaried, we've put together a very basic statement for those salaried employees. They'll basically say, I did work from home, sign it, and that's gonna serve as our backup. And then the other time frame would be April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022.
So in a nutshell, anybody that was employed by the county for 2 weeks before March 31st, 2021, and is still employed today would get 2 payments. Anybody that was employed April 1 of last year forward for at least 2 weeks to current will get only 1 payment.
That's understandable.
Okay.
That's
And
pretty
the
much
first
what-
payment it's our recommendation or what we're proposing is that the first 1,000 get paid from the first 5 million that we have received. Once we get, and if we get the other 5 million, then we can discuss when that additional $1,000 will be paid out.
Sounds good.
Well, it's $1,000 for full-time and $500 for part-time.
Yes.
And they have to be here on the date of payment.
If somebody leaves,
Right, so the first $1,000, if it's approved, it would get paid out next week. If they leave tomorrow or anytime before the payment, and even if they work the 80 hours, they will not qualify.
So in other words, they had to put in their hours before they get the money.
Right.
Good enough.
Simple
I'm good with that.
now, what I've handed y'all in front of you is the ARPA funds wish list and spending. We talked about this, so let's go through the one that's, looks like this page. This is the first 5 million, okay? And if y'all remember, we got 2 million we're gonna give to the water companies, 1.5 million to broadband. We bought so far paving equipment, rugged books for the sheriff, 911 enhancements for the dispatch center, and then there. So roughly, there's there's $218,000 left on the first 5 million. But there's actually more because we haven't paid out all the water and we haven't paid out all the broadband. All right. On the second list, here's your county wish list. On the second list, this is what we came up with. Community National Bank, Edward, is going to be 2.1 million. Just to change that number, yeah. And then we have a broadband match that we were doing. Remember for the $500,000 we got for a grant. You guys are going to buy another haul truck or something. Am I correct? Is that what you ordered already? And then we're buying a car for the health unit, cloud setup. And then we have another employee premium pay set up for that one, already in this one. So, and you can see the total, once we build the sheriff's barn and everything else we are planning on doing, it's 3.6 million, we still have 1.4 left.
Where's the premium pay in this first one?
It's not.
Okay.
That's just, we paid one employee premium pay, if you remember,
Okay.
back sometime, so, yes, sir? So I guess what I'm saying is, you can look at it, there is adequate funds available.
There's not enough in the first 5 million to do the premium pay though.
It's
Not all of it.
Not necessarily, but remember, we haven't paid out all of this, and we haven't paid out all that, so
So some of that's going to come out of the.
yes. So the first The first 5 million, we still have adequate funds. It's,
Yeah, right now we still have 2.4 cash, but as Judge mentioned, most of those have been obligated, but we still have 2.4 cash on.
yes.
But we still have, we'll have time before the next 5 million, by the time they bring in invoices. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be covered regardless.
The
Yes.
premium pays $265 roughly.
That's based on the employees. There might be a handful that don't qualify, that exceed the base salary threshold. So, but that's just the base.
That's an estimate
An
that
estimate.
it'll cost us.
Well, you know, the way I feel is, these employees don't really have a choice. They have to be out there.
Yep.
Working through the elements, you know, when everybody else is.
Sorry, y'all want to take up my phone, you can.
You know, sitting at home or working from home, you know. I think they deserve it.
Is there some way that we can time this payment to when the county taxes are due? That way it'll cover some of that overinflated appraisal?
This is totally different money.
Well, I mean, but it would help them pay their county taxes. Anyway,
Well, they're not due till when? October. So I think if we did this, I think the recommendation is next pay period, hit the first round.
Next week, in between pay periods.
Oh, in between pay periods, you would send it out.
That way we can separate it from any other pay period.
Oh, okay. All right, it's up to y'all.
I'll make a motion, we approve the premium rate.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second.
As presented in the two separate payments.
Yes.
Yep. In the payments, do they say in here when the payments will be made?
No.
So let's make it to where the first payment will be made
During the month of April.
during the month of April in your motion, and then the second payment will be made after we receive the second 5 million. Because that second payment doesn't happen if we don't receive the second
That's it.
5.
I'm good with that.
And anybody who leaves from the first payment until that
Maybe a
second
moment.
payment approved won't get the additional thousands.
Can you make that in your motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it, and the first payment being the month of April, and the second payment when we receive the next 5 million.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discuss and take possible action on approval of the following Commissioner Court meeting minutes, and we're going to approve March 24th and April 12th. We don't have April 7th.
I will make a motion that we approve them as written.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we're going to table the monthly auditor's monthly report, and we're going to go on to discuss take possible action on approval of line item transfers.
Yes, we do have one. This is a budget correction. So our state supplements for a couple of our judges were budgeted in county community programs, which is going to move that budget amount from community programs to state supplements. Not changing the budget, the overall budget, it's just a different line.
Putting it in a different line item.
I'll move to approve the line item transfer.
That's so I'll quit asking Edward, why are we not making any money in community programs, but yet we have a budget for it, so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discuss and take possible action on approval of second installment payment to West Medina Water Supply Company. West Medina, if you'll remember, is, how much is this payment for, Edward?
61,700.
61,000?
Yes, 61,700.
Does that take care of all the money that West Medina is going to get then?
I don't know that. I believe so, but I don't have the first one.
But I guess the question is, because here's the form, if you can read that.
They got one payment.
So,
No, West Medina?
Yeah, or was that Medina River West?
so look at that. That's Beverly's report there.
Because Bruce is right now.
No, West Medina got 51 the first round for a total. They're supposed to be getting 97,000.
So the second payment is going to be for the remainder, the 46,000 that's still due to them, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not 61. They were going to get 97,000 and some change. We gave them 51,000 as their first payment, and they've spent it appropriately. So they have a project for 61.7, but we're only gonna give them 46.
46, it's
'Cause that's
on
all
the
they got.
second page.
Oh,
Second page.
so they only,
46,590.
okay. And that will take care of all their funds.
That will take care, and all the backup for the first installment plan is attached.
Okay.
I move we approve the second installment payment to Western Union.
Second.
Motion is second, any other discussion? And I want that back. Sorry. I'm sure you'll ask for it. I have to keep up with this stuff here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed take possible action on approval of accounts payables.
The total amount is $1,385,786.62.
Do we have that much in the bank? Okay, all right. I see right at the front, do we have these fuel cards fixed now? The fuel man cards, are they fixed? I mean, is anybody have any problems with them? Sheriff? Deputies, is your card working?
We have a new one,
Oh,
another one, Voyager.
Voyager, keep pass or something like that, or keep lead or something like that.
It's
The billman cards, they were working, they just set a limit on it.
Right, but they're limited out again.
and we're gonna fix the limit?
I think we have to wait 3 months.
3 months or something
Before
they'll raise it.
it.
Okay. So, but they're getting gas in their cars, right?
Yes, I guess they got one we issued.
All
They
right.
said they'll give us another one yesterday.
Perfect.
We've been a source of fuel for them
We just have, our shift is out.
occasionally,
Thank you.
and we need to do a line item transfer later.
Okay.
Edward, I'm just gonna question something, Lydia brought it up on my 18 fund, you have building maintenance, and on that road tax, there is no building.
And there's expenses on it, or is it just?
Exactly, you have a line item for it, like I said, if you wanna take it off, that wouldn't even include it. It don't make no difference on my end, but she brought that to my attention whenever she, printed it out yesterday.
I'll take a look at that.
There are no building expenses that occurred under the road tax. And I don't know if anybody has noticed, if you got your email from Martin Marietta over the weekend, does that apply to us also or not?
What, I didn't get an email.
It's an increase in material cost plus fuel charge.
I kind of think that they're locked in on their bid, aren't they?
I thought as long as they gave
All right.
a notice in 30 days.
I don't know.
Unless they give notice in 30 days.
Edward,
I need to reach out to them because they did bid out a
Yeah.
specific amount, so I don't know if that 10% applies to all those bid out materials.
you'll find out. Okay. Did you see the email?
It was forwarded to me.
I never saw it. Did you see it?
The treasurer-
Did not see it.
Somebody in AP got it. They
Okay.
pushed it out.
They send it on Sundays. Vulcan did too, send it on Sunday.
Well, that's on Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday. Somebody worked.
Happy
Yeah.
Easter.
What? Reverend, what do you think of that?
They might be Jewish.
Okay.
He had a plate out on Sunday.
Possibilities. Do we look good over there?
Some of us.
Some of us, huh? You would have combed your hair, right?
You'd think Johnny Depp was on trial.
Yes.
Well,
I'll move that we approve accounts payable, including the add-on to West Medina and accepting page 16 restitution account 097.
Second.
motion and a second. If it's Johnny Depp, all those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Have y'all watched him testify?
No. Is that how he does it?
He's really, it's almost like he's acting.
I couldn't. I tried, I couldn't.
I can't listen that slow,
Yes.
okay?
Exactly.
But he talks in spurts, like 3 words at a time, or it's terrible.
I didn't vote for him.
You didn't vote for him? But he's a pretty good pirate, just saying. All right, next we have discussed a possible action approval of disbursement of funds since the last Commissioners Court meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And now, we have any visitors or public comments for right now? Yes, sir. Come on up and tell us who you are. And
Did you fill out a sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you put it? Did you leave it out there? Oh. Okay.
you want to talk too, Bruce? Later.
Oh, man.
What are we going to talk about? What number?
They're here for the parking lot.
We're gonna table that one. I'm kidding.
He
No.
gets 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. We have Mr. Johnson. There is a, as you know, you've been here before.
Yes, sir.
You have a 3-minute citizens to be heard. Tell us what you'd like to talk about.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you, Judge Shuhart, for
Yes.
allowing me time to address the Commissioners Court. My name is Devine Johnson. I'm the president of the Tranquil Ranch Board of Directors. Our community has 2 concerns. First, of greatest concern is to the Tranquil Ranch community, doesn't appear to be on the agenda today. Reconsideration of PID 1 and PID 2 Board of Directors must be addressed soonest rather than later. For more than 8 years, the PID has conducted itself as a secret organization, refusing to meet with us, share reports, other documents of interest to the community. Since becoming the president of the Tranquil Ranch Board of Directors, finding a PID person to contact directly has been virtually impossible. So I resorted to emailing the PID and courtesy copy Rodney at Diamond Management Corporation. Rodney responds he will pass the concern on to Michael, the PID guy, who will forward the message on to the PID. More than 4 messages were sent with pictures of support requesting action by the PID that have gone unanswered between the first week of January 2022 and the end of March 2022. The PID is responsible for our common areas. Much of these common areas are not provided the attention they deserve. From regular sprinkler maintenance, overgrown walking trails, etc. Treasury reports from the PID allude to major work being expensed shocks our consciousness. We, the Tranquil Ranch Homeowners Association members, petitioned the court to appoint members of our community, not those outside, to be responsible to our residents for common areas and act promptly when issues are brought to them. They will also review landscaping contracts and other issues to ensure we're getting what we paid for. I have a list of people. They're in our community. Judge, if you don't mind, I'll share this with you.
Okay.
Those are the members that we asked to be appointed. Those people are asked to be appointed: Mr. Lynn Long, Mr. Dorsey Wilkins, Ms. Denise Ransom, and Mr. Fleming Mitchell as PID 1 and 2 Board of Directors. That way I'll be able to contact them and we can get things done. The second concern relates to item 21. Is substantial 30% of our annual Petranco Ranch PID money collected from every resident, that's over 465 residents, this money is collected from, that the tax assessor takes, and it's for the Medina County Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. I will ask, why? And what is its purpose?
Okay. Citizens to be heard is not necessarily a time where we address issues. I will tell you that a tax increment reinvestment zone was set up in order to help the developer initially build the subdivision and get funds paid back. It's all in the contract, and you can get a copy of that contract if you like.
Yes, sir. I have that contract, and I have the other items. I've also been to your treasury office here and looked at a whole bunch of things. And we've seen that aside from the money that's given to Harry Houseman, the developer, for doing it, this is 30% is separate from it. And sometimes it's substantial. It's $200,000.
Just for the record, there's 70% goes into the TERS, 30% stays with the county, and also about 30-something% of the Petranco homeowners pay no taxes because of their military background. So there's about 30% of the homeowners, I think, are 38% pay no taxes because of their military background, and they have a disability or whatever it is that allows them to be exempt. So only about 62% of the homeowners at Petranco Ranch are actually paying taxes on their houses, and of that 62%, 30% of that stays with the county. The other 70 goes toward the TERS as part of the contractual agreement that was created when it was first built.
Just to make sure I understood what you're saying, the folks that have disabilities with a certain percentage or whatever, to recoup some of what they're not able to, what they're not getting, that is the purpose of the 30%?
The 30% is just an agreement that was created. In the agreement, if you've seen it, if not, you can get a copy of it. But the developer, to incentivize them to build a development of the quality that Petranco Ranch is, we created a TERS to allow them to recoup over a period of 20 or 20-something years, whatever the amount of time frame is in that contract. They will keep recouping that, and the county will continue to get 30% of it until that contract is fulfilled, which has probably got another 10 or 15 years on it.
Judge, I think he has a little bit of misunderstanding. What he thinks the TERS and the PID are the same animal.
Yes.
No, I know they're different.
Yeah,
I know they're different.
I thought I had.
I know they're different.
But anyway, I'd be glad to visit with you afterwards and give you any more information that I can, okay?
Yes, sir. Standing by.
Thank you.
The list I provided you, sir, those are the people we would like to be on the board.
All right, I appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And you're coming in on number 23?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, then we will stand in recess. Until then.
Can I leave on 22?
Huh? Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the regular Commissioners Court meeting for Thursday, April the 21st. We are now going to go with the 10 o'clock session, and before we do that, I want to go ahead and do a couple of recognitions. So first of all, could I have everybody here on the soil and water conservation coming up? Come on up. You know, you get your picture made and everything, but let me go ahead while they're coming up and read this proclamation. Whereas healthy soil and clean water is a benefit to everyone, and whereas effective conservation practices provide the soil, water, animal, plants, and air that can ensure a rich standard of living, and whereas our security depends upon the robust management of natural resources, and whereas stewardship calls for each person to help conserve these precious resources, therefore I do proclaim April 24th to May 1st as Soil and Water Stewardship Week. And thank you guys for everything y'all do. Come up here and turn around and face us. We'll face the crowd and they'll get a picture of y'all. And Let me just come down here. Tommy, I'll let you hold it, all right? There. Can you all see me moving with my head now?
No, I'm not behind you.
Thank you. It's like a wedding photography.
My text that you just don't hear.
Thank you.
I would like to say one thing. This is and our directors probably don't realize this. I'm Janet Zaire. I am the district technician. This is our 75th year in existence for the Medina County, Medina Valley Soil and Water Conservation District. And so we've been around quite a while. And so they've done a lot for the farmers and ranchers and landowners in Medina County. So
Tommy has been on that board for 45 years. I've been on there for 18, so not all 75.
And not all 75? I was just saying, we went to high school together, so I know you didn't quite make that one, all right? But anyway, thank y'all for everything y'all do and for your conservation efforts. And Tommy, you're active in Farm Bureau and everything else agriculture pretty much. I know y'all are too, so thank y'all for keeping us.
Appreciate y'all taking time to recognize
Yes.
more important subject that we have.
Absolutely.
Land.
And
Yes.
also for your support.
Productive
Quite
land.
Thank you.
Again, thanks very much. Beautiful stuff.
Thank you. Well, glad you got to come to it. So
Y'all have a nice
we have a few more deputies on their way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So when they get here, we're going to have another recognition, but we'll wait for them to get here. If you wouldn't mind, Chief Lee, used to be chief, but keep me posted, okay?
It will always be chief.
Yeah, I guess once a chief, always a chief.
Always a chief.
Okay, next we're going to table item number 12. We're going to go on, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're looking at me like,
No, I just wanted to let the Commissioners Court know that I talked to the auditors. They asked for a little bit more time. The audit is about 95% complete. We're just working on a couple of long lost balances that we're trying to tie and put it into them, old funds, old accounts. We have met our requirements for the debt service. For Samco, we provided them a draft report, so that's good to go. We also provided that to Unicap.
Yeah.
So we've met our requirements. We're going to push it up to the second court in May. I won't be here for the first one. We'll be at the auditor's conference.
Perfect.
I just didn't want you to have any concerns on
we're still ahead of schedule. We're
that.
doing
Yeah, the
good.
deadline's June 30th. Obviously, we don't want to get close to that. But
So we'll do it in May. Thank you. Now we have, gentlemen, come up. All of y'all, come up here. If I could have the law enforcement people. So if y'all will remember, just come up here and you can stand in front of me because I think now I'm tall enough to not be blocked. But anyway, come on up. Get up here.
Come on, Gilbert,
So,
get in the middle.
Gilbert, get here in the middle. Yeah, front and center. So, a couple of weeks ago, we recognized the ESD and other people that were so important to fighting the fire. These gentlemen, and more of them, there's others that aren't here today, including the sheriff, they were there 24/7, protecting the neighborhoods, making sure people weren't coming in and out, and that shouldn't come in and out. They were blocking roads. They actually did whatever they were asked to do, and they did it above any standards. And I think we're here to recognize their efforts. Who? Keith. Keith, yeah. What are you doing sitting over there? Get over here. Yeah, come on. Keith.
He was there more than
So
anybody.
actually, yeah, Keith lived there for the most part, except a couple of Cook, you come on back up.
Cook, get on.
Come on. Cook, Chief Cook, and to just reiterate what happened back then, those two gentlemen on the end were the command center operations. They made sure things got done. They daily were kind of running everything that was happening, and I couldn't ask for two better people to represent the county in a disaster situation like we just experienced with the fire. Gilbert here in the middle had his radio everywhere, and he was excellent at if something came up, he took care of it. And we've spent more hours together probably in the last month than no offense, Gilbert, than I ever have spent with you before. But but it was great to have all of these gentlemen here. And if I could, just for the record, if y'all would start and tell us who you are, going from left to right.
I'm Deputy Sellers, for the Medina County Sheriff's Office, been on for about 2.5 years.
Go ahead.
Deputy Robert Nance, been on the Sheriff's Office for 10 months.
Tommy Green, been with the Sheriff's Office for 12 years. Ben Ellis, been with the Sheriff's Office for 7 years.
Gilbert Rodriguez, Sheriff's Office. Don't know how long I've been here.
Long time. Long time.
Frank Navarro, I've been dispatch for 17 years.
Lee McVeigh, I've been here for right at 9 years.
Brent Miller, 10 years at the Sheriff's Office. Keith Lutz, Emergency Management Coordinator, 9.5 years-ish.
I'm Clint Cook. I'm the fire chief for Medina County ESD1. Recently transplanted here 6 months ago.
And for the record, we've had more problems since he arrived.
So Cook comes here from hurricane seasons to now he brings fires to Medina County. But I've seen him on top of trucks, underneath trucks. He's pretty much hands-on doing what he does. But I couldn't ask for a better group of people that are here to manage disasters and take care of things. And the county thanks y'all for y'all's service and thanks y'all for everything y'all did during the fire and on your daily work too. So thank you. Hold on. You can't get away without Miss Perkins taking a picture, okay?
Little print here, and if you would, this side, yeah, here you go.
Center in on the chief here.
Over just a little bit, friendly. It's hard, you're not taking them on the phone.
Don't worry about COVID, we're good.
And then, Commissioner Sitter, if you can scoot that just a tiny bit, please, sir. Okay, let me be sure I have everybody. Whoa.
That's another vote.
Yeah, there's some
No,
more.
I think I can do it. Got it. And everybody looking and smiling.
Got the reflection of Scooter's head there, okay?
Yeah, that's shining.
Shining it.
No sheriff here today, but one almost as tall.
Not quite.
We still look up to him.
Yeah.
So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to discuss and take possible action on the acceptance of a performance bond for Tranquil Oaks Subdivision, Unit Number 7.
Morning, Commissioners. Morning, Judge. Here seeking acceptance and approval of the performance bond for Tranquil Oaks Unit 7, which covers the remaining construction costs for the project. I think it's estimated just a little bit less than $1.2 million. They've put all the utilities in the ground, all the drainage is in. CPS is going to move in, I think, 2 weeks from now. So they're just trying to get a jump on home building and start getting some homes on the ground. So they want to see if they can post a performance bond and move forward and report a plat.
Yeah, that being said, Commissioner Newman and myself were in there this last week. All that is in, and the trouble with the Tranquil Oaks Enclave, the garden homes and the other one, they are selling lots so fast that they could probably sell out this whole entire unit before the payment's even in. That's how the houses sell for over there. The average houses that we were looking at and they showed us are $800,000 and up. Actually, $830,000. And like I say, on something like this, and I did tell them I'm only going to do one phase at a time. I'm not going to take on the whole complete subdivision. I'm not really a fan of these things here, but the way things are moving over there right now, I don't want to slow down any obstacle that's going to be slowing them down.
And I
On
believe
top of that, I did ask for 25% more than what the actual cost was. So with that being said, I will accept the performance bond for Potranco Oak subdivision, Unit 7.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed take possible action on final approval of Potranco Oak subdivision, Unit 7, located in Precinct 2 off of 1957.
So this is for the final plat approval of the 104 residential lots that we just approved bond for. So we're seeking final plat and recording today as well.
And I will make a motion that we approve the final plat for Potranco Oak Unit number 7, loaded off Precinct 2, off 1957.
Motion in 2 seconds. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank
Next, we have discussed take possible action on approval of 6-month extension to Deer Run subdivision.
Morning.
Mr. Brody himself is here.
How are y'all?
You know, we got the B team instead of your sister, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. No, they're just requesting a 6-month extension. They're fixing to hit already done, so it's 6 more months.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 6-month extension.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, sir. Next, we have discussed take possible action on final approval of Alamo Acres subdivision phase 3, located in Precinct 1. Mr. Howard. Morning.
We are asking for final approval of Alamo Acres phase 3, 65 lots.
Yeah, we were in there yesterday. The road's in, water's in, electrical's all that's getting going. I'll make a motion we get final approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
She's got the next one too.
Oh, hang tight. Next, we have discussed take possible action on release of performance bond number NTX 8404 for Alamo Acres subdivision.
That was phase 2. Yeah, phase 2, Joe.
Okay?
Like I said,
Phase 2. Sorry.
Chester's finished all the roads, everything's seal coated, signs are in, everything looked great. So I will make the motion, we release the performance bond.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Next, we have discussed take possible action on a resolution creating a new public defender's office and applying for a grant through the Texas Indigent Defense Commission. So we can still use this agenda item. It's a little bit different from what I told y'all was going to happen. Yesterday, I went to Kerr County and had a meeting with the 5 judges in the PDO and the whole board in the PDO. Y'all will remember the issue we had was Kerr County was the managing, they were the grant manager. And we, Medina County, want to take it over because of the problems that exist in Kerr County. After about an hour and a half of some very contentious conversations and a break, Kerr County decided to give it up. So we are going to become the manager of the grant for the Public Defender's Office for those 5 counties up there. The 4 counties to the south, which we were going to join with us, are going to form their own, and John Bull, who is our chief public defender, they're going to pay us a fee for him to manage them. And the goal is a year from now, for those of you who may still be here, right?
Right.
Is to join them all as one. But that was the compromise we made to not expanding all at once and then Kerr County giving it up. So
in other words, Kerr County is out completely.
as of October 1, we will become the fiscal agent for the 5 county PDO, and John Bull and his staff. Well, he'll still have a staff up there. The people are going to be there, and I guess the advantage, the nice part about this compromise is we were going to start our own regardless with John Bull as our leader. John's a critical piece of this whole thing, and I think they recognize that they're not set up, and as you know, the technology is already coming from Medina County because Kerr's technology doesn't allow it to work. So we're already the technology center of everything. And if they would have kept it and we'd have split off, they would have been about 3 months behind the 8 ball just starting because they can't do the technology. And of course, we do.
Is Kerr County gonna stay in the band?
They are.
Okay.
So Kerr, Gillespie, Kendall, Medina, and Bandera will be the 5 Hill Country BDO. The South 4 will farm one, and John Bull's going to help set it up and manage it. With the goal a year from now, we'll be back and hope to have all 9 in one. So I still need a resolution because I still need to apply for. So this resolution, I still need to pass it so I can apply.
So John will be employed by both?
John will be employed by Medina County. They're going to pay a fee for John to manage those folks down there.
Okay.
That's only if their grant gets approved, or is he still gonna manage some personnel down there?
Their grant will get approved. I mean, they obviously they have to apply, and they're going to. So, I mean, we've already pretty much, the grants are written up, so it's a matter of turning them in by May 2nd. But assuming, and I've already talked to the head of TIDC, told him this is what we're doing, and he was very happy with the outcome. So TIDC will, I don't see them not approving either grant.
So we need to approve this resolution, not necessarily form a new.
Not for a new one, and that resolution really doesn't say a new one either, so we just need to approve it.
I'll approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have discussion of possible action on approval of a quote from Tyler Technologies for 7 net motion mobility device license and software maintenance for the sheriff's office. What is that?
This is for their CAD, the 7 new deputies that they got between last year and this year. We finally got their rugged books all set up.
Okay.
This is to install the CAD program onto those roads.
Uh-oh.
Got that straight?
Was that an ashtray you dropped or what? Are we smoking back there? All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve the quote for Tyler Technologies.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed a possible action on approval of interlocal cooperation contract with the Texas Department of Public Safety for use of space in the Castroville Annex. So they're there. They just need us to renew this contract so they can continue to do it.
Yeah, luckily I had both the heads in my office a couple of weeks ago from Austin, and I asked them, is there any possible way we could have 1 day a week where you didn't have to make an appointment, at least for people 65 and older, to go on to the internet and try to line up just to get a renewal on a license. I don't know if any of y'all have done that lately. It's quite a chore. And I had some pretty savvy people in the office yesterday talking to me about this. They say, get used to it, it's not going to change. So unless we get some legislators, and I'm working on 2 or 3 right now, to try to get something done to where now this is not just Medina County, this is statewide. You can't go anywhere and get a driver's license or an ID. That's what we're having right now, people coming in just for a Texas ID. It is a nightmare. And have it just 1 day a week at one station out of 5 to where the people can come in, stand in line if that's what it takes, or 2 days a week, and get their business done without having to go across the internet. If you're like me, you don't know when your internet's going to work or not. In Medina County, it is getting a little bit better. But anyhow, I assure you, I am working with state legislators on both sides of the aisle. And I think I'm going to be able to get something done.
Good.
So that's where we're at on that. In the meantime, yes, we don't want them leaving town. If they left town like they were going to before Judge Shuhart stopped them and we got them into Castroville, would have been the real best. But anyhow, I will approve the interlocal agreement contract between Texas Department of Public Safety and the use of the Castroville Annex Office.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discuss and take possible action on reappointment of Robert Hancock, Harry Hausman, and Lance Elliott to the Medina County Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 2.
I will make that appointment to reappoint Robert Hancock, Harry Hausman, and Lance Elliott to the Medina County Tax Reinvestment Number 2 for Franklin Road subdivision.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discuss take possible action on reappointment of Jordan Love and Harry Hausman to the Medina County Public Improvement District Number 1.
I will make that reappointment. This is a reappointment. We're not. Yep,
Pardon?
go ahead.
Right next to that?
Did you sign up to talk?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sir, if I would,
Yes.
what Jen is talking about, that's where I object to. That's where I gave you the list
Yes,
of people.
I got that.
If you're appointing, then we ask that you table this until we get this resolved with the attorneys. If you can appoint people, we would like to appoint us rather than appointing who they said they want to appoint.
Not appointing, reappointing.
They're reappointing the people that are already on the
Yeah,
board.
they want to reappoint, but we want to appoint some of the people who live in our neighborhood.
Okay.
And so we would like this to be tabled until we get to work from the lawyer, we get a chance to discuss it before we go ahead and do this. It should not be a rubber stamp. We're asking something for our community.
I'll still make the motion.
Okay. It's in his district, and I let Commissioner Sitter, he's still making the motion.
I'll still make the motion. I was on this board, he was on the board, I was on 2 other boards, and now we have probably over 10 PIDs in that area. There's no way I can be on every board, or should I be on every board.
I'm not asking for you to be on. I'm asking for our people that live in our community. I know about the 10 PIDs, that's not even the question right now. If you're going to appoint, this board is going to appoint people. We want to appoint people that live in our area. And I gave you the list of people. That's what we like to do. We wouldn't like you to go and appoint who they said. We want you to take and do what we said.
Representation by our taxpayers that are paying those bills there.
Okay, my first thing is, with this is, I created the PID. And this board approved it.
That's why I'm asking you.
Why would I put somebody on the PID board that has been so vocal as yourself to want to kill the PID?
Well, no, I didn't say kill
Why
it.
would I want to do that?
Well, Mr. Sitter, then obviously you didn't look at the list that I gave Judge Schuler.
No, he didn't.
My name was not on the list.
I looked at that.
So I didn't say I want to kill it. I said I want people on there that when we ask for things, or we want certain things taken care of, we got to go to a contact and talk to a person and get something done rather than being ignored. That's the problem we're having, being ignored. And so we want to have that. And if you're going to sit there and say, hey, just let them other guys do it, so you're ignoring what the 465 residents are saying, times 2.
As far as I'm concerned, you can't do it. Either until they can take control of the PID, Harry picks the people he wants on there also.
That shouldn't be. Well, if Harry's picking the people he wanted to pick, then he wouldn't be asking the commissioners court to appoint him.
I was actually on the phone last night with 2 of y'all's people that live over there. Yep.
We live over there.
They have no problem. They have no problem with what they got going on.
Oh, no.
We don't even have to
That's false.
discuss right now. Okay.
That's false.
Do you want to say whether you want to talk to Harry?
So we're asking you to table this
Okay.
and ask him to withdraw his motion and table it until we can get this resolved. Because we don't like it, Mr. Sitter.
It's
We do not like it.
resolved. The man that owns the subdivision.
No, the man doesn't own the subdivision. We now are the board. And so we would like to get this addressed the right way. And we don't want you just putting someone else on that board that does not listen to us. They're not fulfilling their responsibilities. So that's why we need to do something different.
Okay, I understand it, but like I say, the one that's on the board is the one that's drawing the PID. And he is a PID man.
Harry's going to be on it.
Harry is the owner of it, and the other one is
from the community.
Well, if Harry's the owner of the PID, then why Harry's asking you to reappoint him? So that means that you guys got control of that.
No, because
the ones I have on there are Colonel Bob Hancock and General Victor Ortiz. That's who I got on the board. One was the mayor of Castroville, and the other one was a longtime citizen of Castroville. That's who I have on the board.
But they don't live there. That's the problem. They don't even live there.
We could show you pictures of stuff that's not being done from way back.
Just table it, okay, we'll table it.
We'll table it and we'll talk to Harry.
Isn't that something HOA would address?
Yeah,
He is president of HOA, he can't get nothing done on that, don't sound like.
okay. All right. We're gonna move on. Discuss take possible action on amendment to subdivision rules and regulations regarding fire protection. Are you here for that?
Yes, I am.
You sidekick there too?
Yes, yes.
Well, go ahead, tell us what your thoughts. For the citizens to know, we had a workshop last week.
I wasn't here, I'm sorry.
I know, we had a workshop, but I'm glad you're here because we talked about how, in consideration of the fires we've been fighting and the things that have been going on, what we need to do in subdivisions to better protect our communities. And so Mr. Alexander and Mr. Mangold are here from the two largest water companies in the county, and they're going to tell us what they can and cannot do, because I know that we have limitations on what can be done.
Right. Well, thank you, sir.
Sure.
I'm Bruce Alexander. I'm the superintendent of East Medina County Special Utility District. And just for the record, I'm also now currently the president of Texas Rural Water Association. Okay, I'm here for a few things. First, I just want to make it clear that we fully support the fire departments and their efforts in fighting fires. And we want to do everything we can to help them.
Sure.
We do. But, here we go. There's no statutory requirement in the state of Texas for a public water system to provide fire protection. None. Even a city doesn't have to do it unless they pass an ordinance establishing a fire department or fire protection. So I want to make that clear. Okay? The public water system is not required to provide fire protection. East Medina County SUD and the majority of the rural water systems specifically state in their tariff or policies that they do not provide fire protection. Okay? Now, however, we have a series of flush valves that we use to maintain our water system scattered throughout the system. We have I guess, ongoing understanding with the fire departments that they can use these facilities to fill their trucks. We in East Medina have actually started installing, I used to call them country top fire hydrants, but the flush valves that have a fire hose connection on. So it makes it easier for even the fire departments to tie on to them to fill their trucks. But they're not fire hydrants. Even TCEQ, who mandates the rules and regulations for a public water system, does not require fire hydrants. However, if we do put a fire hydrant in, the minimum fire flow for a fire hydrant is 250 gallons a minute, not 500 as previously reported. That's a state rule. Okay, so the minimum required for a fire hydrant is 250. Now, different entities will require different levels and what have you. If you're less than 250 gallons per minute, we paint the fire hydrants or the facilities black. And every fire department knows that that's a fill point. That's not a fire hydrant, that's a fill point. So we have started in our subdivisions, we make everybody install these flush valves that they can make connections to for fill points. Not everybody's doing that, but we
Does a flush valve look like a fire hydrant?
Actually, it does. It looks like a standing one nozzle type fire hydrant.
And it's just painted black?
And it's painted black.
Okay.
Okay? But it's not to tie on
Oh,
to
look here, we got a
It's
picture.
not to tie on to for a hose to fight a fire, because it's not the pressure. Unlike what some people have said, it's not the pressure, because I have water mains that run better than 100 pounds of pressure. It's the volume. Rural water systems do not have the pipe sizing that the municipality has to support the volume of flow that's required to fight the fire. So it's not a pressure issue, it's a volume issue. Okay? And of course, the way you address that, obviously, if you rebuild the rural water system, and nobody has the funds to do that. We kind of work through that as we can. Now, and then we turn around, we talk about these storage tanks that you are requiring by your subdivision rules in a system that does not have a public water supply. And I don't know, I wasn't at your workshop, but as reported in today's Devine newspaper, there was consideration to just require those tanks to be put on public water systems too. Well, I would caution you on making that requirement for a public water system because those things are set up to flow, to fill in a 72-hour period, basically just under 5 gallons a minute. Well, the state requires us to provide a certain amount of flow for each connection, and that would be equal to 8 additional connections. And in many cases, some of the water lines in the rural water system are run so tight that they don't have the capacity for that flow. But yet I have enough flow to fill a truck. Does that make sense? So if I have to maintain a 20,000 gallon tank in a property, that means I have to increase my ability to have additional flow, which goes against the TCQ rules. So I would just advise to reconsider that. So there's more to it than just doing that. I mean, we want to help, we provide the flush valves, we do all of these things. You know, one alternative, I don't want to take away from Scooter, we were talking about, if you put some of these requirements on a development, and they're not to a public water system, that might be a little different issue. But then I don't know how that would come to be when it's kind of like, okay, public water systems only require this, but the county's requiring this. Who has authority over which one? And I don't want to get into that issue about who has authority over what particular thing. Again, we're all supportive of fire protection. We want to provide everything we can, but there's certain things that I don't believe that you have the authority to force on public water systems. So that's pretty much my speech.
Okay, while you're there, do you have an answer for it? You told us a lot of law, but you didn't tell us.
Well, the answer that I think we talked about in Scooter Camp too is to try to put in your rules to push it on the developer. Because then it makes the developer have to come back to the water system and say, look, the county won't approve my subdivision unless I do this. So now the water system, what do I have to do to meet these requirements?
Okay, so that's what our rules do. Yeah. The rules put it on the developer. It doesn't put it on y'all.
Well, I understand. I just wanted to bring up the points that I don't want to go down that slippery slope where it appears as though it's being put in regulations on a public water system, because that's where you guys don't necessarily want to get in the middle.
Well, I don't want to put it on you, I want to put it on that developer.
Okay.
That's where I want to put it.
Well, let me go back to this one then too. Again, I'm back to a lot of the rural water systems do not have the line size capacities for miles to provide those requirements. Okay?
So if the developer comes to you, you may not be able to meet his needs, and then there's no development.
Well, I may tell the developer that it may take you $1 million or $2 million to be able to do that, and they're going to, the first thing they're going to do, they're going to go back to the state of Texas and file a cost of service complaint against me. Okay? And then I get caught in the middle of, well, I can't do that because, they said, well, we can't meet county requirements because you can't do that. And we're back in a whole circle thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, and I'm not trying to,
okay, Bruce, I've had this happen 3 times on my watch, or 4 times in a Scooter district.
Right.
We put in Petranca Ranch. That line run $1.8 million to run from 381 to the subdivision.
Sure.
That was $1.8 million. That part that the TERS paid. The next subdivision on down, Petranca Acres, that was over $800,000 that the PID paid for.
Sure.
That's how we're getting these subdivisions put in.
I understand.
Not there wouldn't be no subdivision.
But not everybody has a PID or a TERS or whatever it is to do that. I'm going to give you an example of a subdivision that's under construction right now in my service area. Okay, Bang Ranch, 115 lots. Okay, we are the water provider there. They put fire hydrants in there. We're painting them all black because we cannot guarantee the fire flow for a fire hydrant. But I told the developer, I said, you put them in, I'm going to take them back out because we don't provide fire protection. They said, well, we have to have them because the public wants them to sell the properties. I have a subdivision from 20 years ago.
Hold on, stop. Let's go back to Bang.
Yeah.
So you're putting them in.
They put them in already.
And they're going to be painted black.
That's correct.
And And so they can be used to fill trucks with, right?
That's correct, but they cannot be used to tie on for a pumper truck or a draw or to directly fight a fire. But they can be used to fill trucks.
Go ahead, Chief.
So, we actually haven't met over the meeting. I had a few times on email. I actually wasn't aware of the workshop, so that's great to hear. So I have a question, is it about the semantics of referring to it as a fire hydrant? Because the flows are, most of the ones I've dealt with, the flows are there, right?
I can tell you that I believe, and I've told my board, I believe in most cases we can provide the flow rates, but I can't guarantee.
No, absolutely. So it's the semantics.
So I can't classify them as a fire hydrant. I have to fill them as a fill point.
Right. So it's the semantics of that term. They're there.
In some areas it is, some areas it's not. But yeah, these flush valves in some cases on a 2-inch waterway. Sure. So we group them all together.
Right, no, absolutely. And I think this is more of a relationship thing.
Sure.
Build a relationship, trust thing, because as for those that, for the board, one of the things ESD1 is doing right now is they're going through the ISO process in an attempt to reduce the insurance rates. And that's triggered a lot of conversation with the water providers. And it's the same thing with the.
So does this black
Yes.
Fire hydrant
Right.
meet 1174-2?
Right.
That's what that is, right? That would actually allow firefighting vehicle water tanks.
It's not a high flow connection.
Well, that's.
Does that meet that ISO standards?
So what we look at, literally, we just go look at flow. So when ISO does an evaluation, they look at flow. And we'll go test some hydrants. As long as we have a history of consistent flow, they don't get into a signed off document that says this is a fire hydrant.
Well, on an ISO, I just want to add one more thing. On an ISO, because you can look up the ISO, and the ISO is going to tell you that if it's less than 250 gallons a minute, it's not considered for firefighting. It's a fill position. So they don't get credit for those as a fire hydrant. They do not on an ISO rating. So, but I want to tell you one more thing about the flush valves. Gilbert's not here. Okay, from the ESD in the Italia area, we have a standing understanding with them. I told them flat out, straight up, that we'll change every flush valve in our system to those. ESD provides some materials. We'll put the labor in. So we'll put flush valves. I mean, we've got more than 100 or probably closer to 200 scattered throughout that 300 square miles that we serve. We don't have a problem doing that and letting the fire department tie on to them for that. We don't. And our new subdivisions have these flush valves. We won't put anything but. We just want to make sure that, I guess make it clear to everyone that the public water systems don't guarantee fire flow.
Right.
Okay? But yeah, we do that now. What happened up at the lake, I understand they were all private wells. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. They don't have a water system that would have, because in my belief, if they had a water system, they would have had shorter turnarounds and they would haul water.
What took place up there, what took place up there was far more fire BTUs than we would have ever accomplished.
Right.
But so the only question, so when we go to prove ISO, it's 250 gallons a minute for 2 hours, which is effectively 30,000 gallons. What I've experienced is most of those flush valves are flowing far more than that, consistently.
I won't argue that.
Right, no, they are. I mean, so it's the semantics of what we talked about before, which I believe boils down into litigation at some point down the road. We're not going to call it a fire hydrant because if it doesn't work, we're not dealing with that, right? I mean, and so I think it's a relationship thing that we just continue to work on. I mean, if it consistently flows more than 250 gallons a minute, we're going to treat it the same way. We're not going to drive past it. We're still working on a relationship to gather that information for consistent statistical data. We don't look into guaranteeing anything either, right? I mean, so
what's your suggestion looking at this section?
Well, the 11.7.4.2 that you were asking, that doesn't describe a black hydrant because it's talked about hooking onto the pump of the vehicle.
Well, that
That's
has
a fire
nothing.
hydrant. I mean, but the judge asked a minute ago that particular line up there because it talks about being able to hook directly onto the pumper. then you can't do that off of one of the black ones.
But that pertains to a non-public water system.
Correct, right, but I
So-
was answering his question about, or was that the black, but no, it wasn't. That's-
Now, I just also want to make the point, just for what it's worth, a tank on the ground, and you know this, 20,000 gallon tank, you got to draw off of it, because you're not going to get enough.
And 20,000 wouldn't be enough, it'd have to be 30,000.
But there's no pressure there.
Correct.
Unless you put that tank 100 feet in the air, there's no pressure to flow the water out of it. They have to draw that water out of that tank. Okay? So how, if they back up a truck to fill out of that tank, they're going to fill that tank a lot quicker out of my flush valve than they are out of that tank.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a next door subdivision.
The only other question I would have, on your system, do y'all have generated backup on your pumps?
100%.
Yeah, so it's, again, we get into the semantics.
Yeah,
It's a qualified system by far, it's just, I understand.
It doesn't have the components that ISO requires, but it still has the ability to provide water.
From a fire service side, ISO only requires 250 gallons a minute for 2 hours.
Right.
That's the fire service requirement. ISO is much bigger than fire service.
Right.
So they have ratings and gradings for all kinds of different things. From a fire protection side, we have to show that we can provide 250 gallons a minute for 2 hours for your standard residential structure fire. Most flush valves have always consistently been able to do that, short of some private systems that put in some 1-inch, 2-inch lines across the state. You know, the district I came from, we had 27 mud districts, and we dealt with these same conversations.
Right.
I mean, these were high density, 100,000 people that lived in 40 square miles, and exact same conversations with the mud districts. Those aren't fire hydrants. I don't care what you call them, right? As long as I can use them.
I call them a country fire hydrant,
Right.
they're painted black, they're flush valve.
Yeah.
The bottom line is the state requires a public water system to have so much capacity of pumping per connection. They require, if we do fire protection, we have to provide, basically guarantee, a flow rate of 250 gallon a minute minimum above and beyond the minimum requirements for public water systems. So it changes the way a public water system.
So you guys y'all put in flush valves in your subdivisions anyway, right? Are y'all required to put in flush valves?
We're required to put in flush valves into our system, yeah. So we
Yeah,
build
so
all
you're
that.
required to do that, so in a subdivision served by a public water system, they all have the same rules?
Yes.
That they have to put in flush valves?
Yes.
For firefighting purposes will be good?
It's a semantics thing.
In most cases.
Yeah.
The term, they're not going to agree to that statement.
Well, no, they can't,
Firefighting.
but they're not required to
We
do
would
it,
use
so
them, we would probably get credit for them.
that's fine.
He was shaking his head no.
We're required
You'd be happy with
we're
it.
required to put a flush valve on every
You're
one of
not.
our getting lines. And we have to flush our mains.
The only stipulation for us is that because they are not owned by us, we would need an approval that that they agree that, yeah, you can connect them and do what you tell us about the water you use, whatever, but it's not a fire contract.
I have no problem on East Medina signing any type of agreement with any of the volunteer fire departments or the ESDs to provide them the ability to access our water through a flush valve during a time of emergency.
I think I'm talking apples and apples here, Judge. I think Bruce is talking one thing, and I think.
Go ahead, Scooter, you're up.
My name's Scooter Mangold, General Manager of Yancey Water. I think there's some differences here that the fire department's talking versus what y'all are communicating. I'll give you a prime example of a flush right now, Tranquil Acres. I don't have a flush, it's a loop system. It's 2 miles around that thing. If it wouldn't be for fire hydrants, we'd be in trouble, right?
So you have fire hydrants there?
We do have fire hydrants there.
Okay.
And it's a design issue. It needs to be on the developer. We will support that. When a developer comes in and does X number of lots, he needs to put fire hydrants in there. That's something that is at the design process. I'm going through it right now with Green Glen Acres. They lost a resident in there not long ago. That HOA wants me to put the bill to increase the line size to be able to put fire hydrants in there. That's unfeasible for us to have that burden. Now the HOA doesn't have that type of revenue either. But it's after the fact, and it's all saw cut. It costs millions of dollars to go in there.
50-year-old subdivision too.
So
So you're either gonna put in flush valves or fire hydrants?
we have to put a flush valve at every end of the line.
Yeah.
Wherever we have an end of the line, we have to have one by one.
Okay.
But fire hydrants, I think, should be designed in any development that goes into Medina County.
All right, thank you.
Next
Sir.
question.
Go ahead.
The question I had was, what does the insurance company say about the fire hydrants? Because that's an issue too, because when I did my insurance, they said, where's the closest fire hydrant? Thank God we have Mr. Cook's, Chief Cook has got that firehouse going, and that'll be going, the firehouse is close to us. It raises our insurance premium if we don't have adequate actual fire hydrant there.
That's correct. That's part of the ISO ratings. Everybody gets an ISO rating, and your insurance rates are based on that. There's a lot of variables in the ISO rating. Water is just one component.
Water is 30% of your ISO rating,
Right.
But if you don't have water, the others don't count.
Right.
But the water comes from a couple different directions, so ISO is much larger than, so yes and no on your statement on there has to be, hydrants are the absolute most effective, closest water supply. There's ways to fix the rating that solves the rating issue, but it doesn't provide the higher level of service, if that makes any sense. So it doesn't actually provide the service in the end, and that's through tanker trucks, and there's some different ways. We're currently working on the ISO across that whole area.
Okay.
Because that area, where they're at, they're considered to still have no fire protection according to ISO, until we
Now,
fix that.
All right, so we've addressed where you guys are at. This talks about where you guys are not at, where there's not served by a public water system. And this is our rules right now. And you gentlemen are both sitting here having recently fought fires in those areas where people of 15 houses or more. I mean, how do we improve upon this? Is that without making it a huge burden on the developer, because obviously we can't put too much on them. The development won't happen.
I believe that's probably a conversation outside of this meeting, and it's a relationship thing that with each development to look at, what is the totality of the whole system, or what's going on there, right? It's not so much, what is the option, where's the closest water, is it feasible? I think it gets tough at sometimes to have hard set rules, because you could limit your development, where if they come in here and you look at it, you can have some back and forth, some gives on design, gives on how far apart the houses are spaced.
I mean, this would be our minimum.
Right.
What you're looking at is minimum, right?
If I can, based on what you just said, as a minimum, I would suggest increasing that tank size from 20 to 30,000.
It should be 30,000.
What's a truck hold? The average truck?
What's that?
What is the average truck hold when you fill it from one of these tanks?
So there's multiple styles of different trucks. A tender, which is designed for carrying water, ours can carry 3,000. The reason it's 30,000 is the fact that ISO requires 250 gallons a minute for 2 hours. That math is 30,000.
That's 30,000.
Oh, okay. But this is not following ISO, because this is filling this 20,000 gallons in 72 hours is our minimum requirement.
That's our.
So you're basically going to get 7 truckloads out of that and then wait 72 hours for it to fill up again.
Well, the refill, yeah, but he's just talking about the first.
But what he's saying, and I think both of them just said that number should be 30.
Right.
Is that?
He's saying the initial use is the 30,000 gallons. Forget the refill part of it. It's the initial use.
So that you could have 30,000 gallons available for the first 2 hours.
Right.
I'm pretty sure where we came up with that number when we redid the rules was from State Fire Marshal's office. They recommended it have 20,000 gallons. On the fire that we just had up there, up Paradise Canyon, you have 3 and 5 acre lots, some of them 4 acre lots. They were having to drive a one-way road, probably 5 miles to fill up the water. It wouldn't have done no good to have a bunch of surface up there because all the telephone poles got caught on fire. So they were out of water. There was no water to be had in that vicinity. That fire taught me as a commissioner a bunch. We could have had some people trapped in there. If it wouldn't have been for that airport, we'd lost a lot of probably people that couldn't have got out. And then on that 20,000 gallons, the 20,000 gallons on the side of a hill over there somewhere would be a far cry better than nothing at all, even if it's gravity fed. These trucks do have suction on them. Every truck we had out there, we were out there with them at night, fueling them up with fuel. I just watched the truck suck out of the river, and it sucked quite well. probably faster than it was getting it out of the back of a water truck. You know, when you're right in the middle of all this stuff, when they're dropping water from the top and they're sucking water out of the creek right beside you, you see the whole thing going on in daylight. It's just black and white. And all I'm saying, this is why we can't let this happen. I got that set of plans that Keith, y'all drawn out for me on my desk when a developer comes in. That's the first thing they're gonna look at. The second, where we're gonna get fire protection. I'm not gonna sit here and let nobody skimp on putting in a $30,000 worth of water system, a 20,000 gallon. I just bought one, about $1 a gallon, a 30,000, probably the same, compared to somebody's 250, 300,000 house burned down. I can't do that. And today, with the stuff we have in place, to be able to charge the developer, and I'm not here to run pit down your throat, a pit pays for a lot of it.
I agree.
Petranco Ranch or over Red Macomb, the pit paid $20-some million to have the water brought in. What are they going to do without the water? The pit paid for it. So, you know, it's just, there's different ways we can do on this stuff. To having, say, Presidio subdivision over on 471 or 15 lots, bring water down from Petranco Road to a 6-inch line, you're looking at $750,000 or more. Just going off y'all's old rates. Because I know what it costs Western to get it off the top of the hill to Petranco Acres, about $800,000, which luckily the pit paid for it. So the man can go on and put in a subdivision like they're putting in. If not, we're going to be selling. Nothing's going to happen.
But
with these implements,
when we're looking at littler subdivisions, 15 lots, like Paraiso.
Exactly. All they got the black hydrant there, and I stopped and talked to her man. He's at 250 gallons a minute. I said, "Was that put out a house fire?" He says, "I would sooner it would be a bigger one if it was my house."
Sure. But it's something.
Is there water there?
These guys are going to show up.
1,000 gallon tender? Sure.
They're going to show up with trucks full of water. We just need to be able to refill them.
Do we need to amend this 20,000 gallon figure in this item here, 23?
And then thing of it is, like he was saying, do you have backup power to run this thing? What would that take? It wouldn't take no 22 kW generator to pump a 5-horse pump water into it.
Oh, I think we don't provide a generator for.
I can tell you that I know Yancey, I don't want to speak on behalf of them, but y'all helped us out with funding for generators, and we have backup generators on our entire system. Now, I don't know about every water system, but I know we're required to now.
Tim has probably got some of the worst district, because he has these massive subdivisions where they're 10, 12, 15 acres. You can't run water line and all that stuff.
I have 6 subdivisions right now that the average is probably less than 30 lots under construction. There's no pits, there's no nothing like that, and I have lines that we have to extend and things like that, so we're not trying to run developers off, but some of them become cost prohibitive.
And what are they doing for fire protection? None?
We put flush valves.
Flush valves.
We require them to put the flush valves.
But let's go back to this so we can finish this out. Do we need to change this?
If you want it recognized for insurance purposes, it's got to be 30,000 gallons.
Okay.
That was my question.
So the developer is going to put a 30,000 gallon tank in. They're going to drill a well because there's no public water in these developments.
They would be.
You don't have to put the tank as long as he meets fire flow regulations.
Right, that's true.
He didn't have to what?
You don't have to put the tank as long as his well meets fire flow regulations.
If they have their own well.
Well, according to our regulations, each fighting facility, which we require if you have 15 or more lots and no public water, is going to have a minimum of 20,000 gallons of water storage.
I'll address that really quick. The state of Texas says that if you have so many connections or so many customers served, thou shalt establish a public water system. Well, whether it be an investor-owned, or a water supply corporation, or a political subdivision, they're going to have to install. They're going to have to establish a public water system for a subdivision.
Of how many lots or more? Of how many lots or more?
I want to believe that. I don't quote me on this because I don't have the numbers handy, but I believe it serves more than 25 people on a daily basis.
25 people.
People.
Wow.
You have to establish a public water system. So
15 lots.
we're not going to allow a creation of another public water system within our service territory.
Not in our CCN.
So it's gonna have to be an uncertificated area in the county, which there's not very many of those left.
Okay.
So in most cases, we've got that covered.
So if they're in an area that you can service, and there are 25 lots in their subdivision, they've got to contact you. And
If they're in my service territory, his service territory, and I believe they're a little over 300 square miles, they're a little under 300 square miles, roughly half the county,
Okay.
you're going to have to come to us for water service.
So we're assuming now we've got 15 lot subdivision that's not in the Yancey service area, or East Medina's, or West Medina's, or anywhere.
Right.
Now we've got them regulated to put a 20,000 gallon tank in. They've got to have a well to fill that tank within 72 hours. And y'all are recommending, you'd recommend that we make that 30,000 gallon tank. And we probably ought to have some kind of backup generator, so if the telephone pole burns down, their well is no longer pumping into that tank.
By law, if they're serving more than 25 people, they have to have a generator.
They have to have one.
They have to.
Okay. Well, that's a few things we don't have.
say the subdivision, every lot has a well. They got their own water usage. The subdivider puts in storage tank, drills a well himself. Does he need to have a backup generator on that?
If it's serving, if he's serving more than 25 and becomes a public utility, yes.
But wait, you're talking about a service where you got a water system.
Well, we have a water system.
No, I'm talking about, we're talking about an area where y'all don't exist, okay?
Okay.
So a guy comes in and puts 15 lots up and they all drill a well.
Okay.
Y'all aren't servicing them.
Right.
Each one of them drills a well.
Right.
But he puts in a well and storage tank for water for fire purposes.
So what is the law on that guy?
He's not a public water system. So he's just drilling a
This is
well,
addressing-
a water tank for fire protection.
We're addressing non-public water system places, okay? So that's, I need to know what we do on those places, not where y'all exist.
Do we require him to put a generator on that well?
Now, the storage tank is a solution, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
Where this is gonna really come into play is not only on the residential, but one of the things I dealt with in my last community were these pop-up venues, assembly venues, so wedding facilities, stuff like that.
Sure.
That's where these tanks really usually come into play on those type of venues, because you have an assembly that doesn't have a water supply or no fire protection. But to be recognized for residential purposes, commercial purposes, totally different ratings. Residential purposes is 30,000 gallons.
so our rules, as they're sitting here right now, the thing we need to change is make it 30.
Yes, sir.
And everything else for a non-water supply serviced area,
Yes.
those rules are fine.
That's correct.
Do we need to make them have backup power so they can
Well,
fill that?
Is that required? Backup power, a
It'd
generator?
be up to us.
That, I don't get into the design of those, because that 30,000 gallons is what's gonna be on site on the house.
That's enough?
How fast
Hold on,
it
Bruce.
refills?
Hold on. Let Keith talk.
How fast it refills, I mean, we're interested in the initial water to put a fire out. The 30,000 gallons of water that's available.
Okay.
Because we're assuming it's a one-time use, you're gonna put out some kind of structure, and then if it takes it days to refill, that's fine.
And the truck will be able to pump it out of that 30,000 gallon facility. So you don't need to have a generator there to do that.
Not for that purpose, no.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, my next question is, there was a law one time, a swimming pool at 20,000 gallons or more is suitable.
It's not 20,000 of usable water. You can't get
Of
every
usable water
You can't
in
get
a
every
swimming
water.
pool.
Okay.
Is usable.
We can't regulate
No,
who's
not
putting
really.
swimming
Mine
pools
was
in,
18,000.
so for our regulations, we need to.
Well, I'm just saying, if they put a clubhouse in,
We need to go research that law if you want to, because I think I'm listening to what they're saying, and we just need to change this to 30. All right, Bruce, go ahead.
I would also suggest not only changing to 30, but because of what just happened up there, you're talking about a backup generator, you make them as part of the development agreement or whatever they do with the county to meet these regulations. They either must provide an alternative power source or a generator, because how are they gonna refill that tank?
So that was what my question was.
Well,
Yeah, so you make that as a requirement.
The firefighters,
That's on the outside.
the firefighters are only concerned with the
No, but that's
initial.
on the outside of the house.
I understand. We're mainly concerned about that first 30,000 gallons,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I hear our fire people over here saying we need to change that to 30.
And the only other thing,
I agree with that.
I just go back to 11.742, because if you're saying it requires all of those things, I mean, is it, if it's written, y'all are saying it requires them all, because the second part still talks about you gotta have a fire hydrant.
Well, and that's what I was gonna get to. Should that be an or?
So, fine.
Should it be an OR between 4.1 and 4.2?
So that may be a semantics, the term fire vehicle pumps. I think 4.2 is fine.
Okay.
The gravity flow refilling and for connection to it, yeah. As long as we have a way to hook to it.
So 4.2 and 4.1 work together fine?
Yeah.
And why change it to 30,000?
He's saying,
We would change that to
you're
30.
saying
Yeah.
pumpers, think of that as an engine.
4.2 and 4.1 work together, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, well, it does say firefighting facilities shall have high flow connections. That would be the truck.
That would be a high flow connection for the 30,000 gallon
High
tank.
flow connection would be the size of the connection. So
Okay.
3-inch, 4-inch connection, you're not gonna be a 3/4 inch water hose.
Gotcha.
That's the term, that would be how I interpret high flow
It's
connection.
kind of like ours over flush house.
Correct.
Okay. So we can move on. We need to change that to 30,000.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
That's easy enough.
Motion and a second. That was a long discussion for 10,000 gallons, but I appreciate you guys being here to help us through this. So, motion and a second. Any other discussion?
We're only changing it to 30,000, that's it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussing possible action on amendment of subdivision rules for acceptance of road maintenance section. If y'all remember, we call it a maintenance bond. We need it to be a performance bond. Am I correct? 10, 2, 5, 1, right there. That should be changed to performance bond instead of a maintenance bond.
And 10.4 is what Jennifer gave us.
Well, we're changing 10251. Wait, go back to 10251, Jennifer. You were there. Now, that's what we're actually changing in this one, is to call that a performance bond. Would you quit moving that thing?
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the right place.
I just lost it.
You were there.
You were there. There it is. Okay, stop.
There's your maintenance, that's your maintenance part, yeah.
To secure, no, but it should be called a performance bond.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
the
there's
problem.
Numbers that need to be checked in here, and on top of it, back to our own parking lots here, if each commissioner read this here, what needs to be done through the whole process?
So tell me
Okay,
what.
let me just read through the process, what this thing does. The owner of the posted and deposit cash, bond, or letter of credit in the approved law of the Commissioners Court. A maintenance bond, so we're going to go to a performance bond on that?
It should be called a performance bond, because a maintenance bond is after the fact, after they built it.
Exactly, and if it's private road, we don't really care.
It's the wrong word.
Yeah, okay, to secure the proper construction and maintenance of the road prior to the county's acceptance in the amount of 50%.
We talked about upping that.
I just upped mine to cost plus 25%. I got some engineers back there looking at the board. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, it should cover the remaining construction costs plus any contingency.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones I had talked to, it was a no issue. That was fine with them.
So we changed the word maintenance to performance. We changed the word 50%
To 125.
125%.
Here, let me keep on going. For the construction costs of streets of 2 years following the acceptance of the county. Now that is if we take maintenance.
That would be maintenance versus performance.
That's maintenance, so
They're mixing
that
them
needs
up.
to be changed a little bit.
Well, and David's, go ahead.
The one that I think we just did one here
Yeah.
earlier. The performance bond means that they are going to perform the work that they're promising us that they're going to do.
Guaranteed by 125.
They're going to guarantee, so the construction of the roads prior to the final plat, if they want to get our final plat approval and the roads are not built yet, they have to give us a performance bond saying they're going to build them.
Exactly.
So right now, we've got that listed as a maintenance bond on 10.4. So that has to be changed to performance bond. I think the maintenance bond is after everything is approved and we have the 2-year waiting period before the county accepts the roads for our maintenance. That maintenance bond has to be in place to make sure that those roads are maintained.
If it's not a private road.
If it's not a private road.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on reading through this thing. It's quite interesting. I read it last night and this morning again at 5 o'clock. Okay, before releasing the maintenance bond,
I think that's
or letter of credit, okay, that would be, have to be performance bond or letter of credit. The county commissioner shall inspect the roads, even, and now this is even if they're private or public. And the owner shall remedy all deficiencies before releasing of the maintenance bond or performance bond to the letter of credit. If the deficiencies are not properly amended, the county shall make the repair and draw from the maintenance bond or letter of credit of payment. A maintenance bond must be posted regardless of the date of the street or accepted by the county for all county streets and roads prior to the recording of the final plat. If they put down a maintenance bond, I hand him my final plat today.
Correct. So now, if you were going to accept those roads in 2 years, you could accept them. After we've already approved the final plat. So they're sitting there for 2 years and you go back and say, you know what, these roads are not in good shape. And you go back to the developer and say, you need to fix these before I'll accept them. And if he says, no, I'm not going to do it, then you've got his maintenance bond to do that yourself.
The trouble with that issue is, once I give so-and-so a maintenance bond, he can go over here to Gina's office, he files that, he starts selling lots.
Well, he can.
Wait.
We've already given him final approval.
So I think what David's saying is, and as I'm looking through this section should stay maintenance, because this is post-construction, and 50% would be fine because it's already built.
It's already built.
We got to go to the other section, which you're saying in 10.4. Move it on to 10.4. So this is probably correct. It's 10.4 where it's performance.
It's kind of mixed in together. Okay, 10.4. I'm on 10.4.
Upon final plat satisfying the requirements of section 251. So that should be a performance bond in 10.4.
Yeah.
And it should say in the amount of 125% of the cost. We need to add that in.
So you want to leave the 251 alone?
I think 251 is probably correct as a maintenance, because that's post-construction when they, if it's going to be a county road.
Yeah.
I think its performance bond is in 10.4.
They've built everything, it's all done, we've done the final approval, and then they say, okay, now here's my maintenance bond. So in 2 years, when you accept these roads for the county to maintain, if there's anything wrong with it, we're going to use that maintenance bond to fix those little things that are wrong that happen in that 2-year
Before you
period.
release it.
Okay, while we're on this maintenance of roads, Tim and I have a meeting with the attorney tomorrow on another avenue other than a PID or HOA.
Okay.
It's going to be called a municipal management district.
Okay.
I don't know none of the details.
Hey, that's,
Well, no,
about that.
it's not on the,
That's a,
Yeah, well, it's just another.
it's not on the agenda.
It's just another avenue.
So, what do we want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to change in our subdivision regulations 10.4 to read the bottom line, an owner wishing to construct roads, streets, or other improvements prior to the recording of a record plat should be required to post a performance bond in the amount of 125% of the cost of the road improvements.
Okay.
Upon recording of the final plat.
I have a motion.
second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed take possible action on acceptance of newly assigned private road 4101 and private road 7412 in precinct 3.
I make a motion that we accept those newly assigned private roads.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussed possible action approval of change orders, and as you can see, we have none.
That's a good thing.
So, going on, court member announcements.
We are busy.
I want to thank the crews for coming out and helping me pave Michigan Road yesterday. They did a fantastic job. And we have a major road repair from Medina River West to the Cassville city limits starting the week after school's up.
Perfect.
Busy in precinct 3.
My fellows won't be here today for that meeting after this because we're in the process of getting the road ready to pave next week.
All right. We're gonna have a workshop after this? Okay, so we're gonna have a workshop. And as far as, I have no new announcements. Thank y'all for coming. Appreciate it. Gentlemen,